So we'd like to welcome Ethan Lowe onto the podcast. We got a chance to sit down and have a conversation. So what's going on, Ethan?
Hey guys, not just enjoying my time actually at home in between travels, between Sebring and Barber Motorsports Park, but otherwise enjoying soaking up the sun here in Florida, being home. How about you guys?
Well, staying busy. Where is home for you, Ethan?
Home, Clearwater, Florida. Yeah, Clearwater area. So hopefully near beachside.
Close to us.
That's super
And
cool.
you guys are Sarasota, right?
Yes, we are.
Yep.
We're down in Sarasota. Now, Ethan, I took a look at some of your stuff that you've done online, and I've seen a lot of racing from like every different kind of car that I've ever seen possible to race. You've raced. But we'll come back to some racing stuff. I want to talk about like you first. What got you into cars?
So it was around the time of like 10 and 3/4, the age when you were still counting like half age and 3/4. And we went to the St. Pete Grand Prix in 2007. And there was the ALMS series and IndyCar. And I was just more blown away with like the LMP1 cars, the Audi and the LMP2 Penske Porsche at that time, and the GT2 Ferrari with Risi. And then they let me sit in their car because they usually do that with kids. And then Dyson with another Penske Porsche also like let me sit in their car. And from there, I was just like, dude, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Guaranteed. And so it started from there at 11 years old.
Started at 11. So then what would have your first car have been?
Realistically, I think it was Skip Barber, the F2000 cars from back in, what was it? 2012 time. That was the first car. And then if you discount like the racing school cars, it was actually a Hooter Cup car, which was like in the NASCAR ladder, and did 2 or 3 laps. And then I was just told like, probably stick with road course racing.
Oh, wow.
So it sounds you have done some oval stuff then.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I haven't really gotten to do too much racing. It was more so testing, and that wasn't really the conversation how it went. It's just that's my version of it. But I can tell you, last year I did some dirt racing and some mod light cars. Fantastic, love it.
God, you have driven everything, haven't you?
Everything but an IndyCar and modern IndyCar and an F1 car, yeah.
So of all the things you've driven so far, what has been your all-time favorite? If you could spend the rest of your life driving one car on track, what would it be?
Probably an Indy Lights car or something like that, because that was the closest I've gotten to that's probably the fastest like in an overall lap time. Indy Lights car, but a car that like I've driven more recently, probably a Dallara LMP2 car. So,
Ooh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So I can tell you, I wish a lot more of my Kuros and prototypes, as I actually drive better than that. But GT cars, it is.
Cool. That's super cool. As far as like your personal cars go, I know you're big into racing. What was like the personal car that you had? What was your first car?
Oh man, this is where you guys are gonna get bummed out. It's actually a Toyota Tacoma. My very first car was a Isuzu Ombre, which is like the equivalent of a Chevy S10.
Oh yes.
Something low key basic, something my dad knew I wouldn't get into trouble with, something we could afford. I couldn't really get into like, it's kind of hard to get a ticket in a Isuzu Ombre. You can usually get away with a lot in that. And then it was a Toyota Tacoma for the rest of my time, and now it's got around 500,000 miles on it. Still runs like new.
You still have that Tacoma?
Yeah.
Let's
absolutely.
go. I love that.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta ask. I've had a Tacoma. My wife and I have had a Tacoma. What'd you get? Is it a pre-runner, 4-wheel drive, 5-lug? What'd you get?
I've had a pre-runner, and then now I have what were the other ones you said?
So you've got 4-wheel drive, you got pre-runner, and then you've just got like your base SR5.
Right now I think it's just the base SR5.
There you
go. But I have had a pre-run one as well, and like I said, right now it's got 500,000 miles. It still runs like new, and I've tested the limits of those cars to see like, all right, at what point will they break down? And I almost broke it down. I ran it from Road Atlanta to Florida completely dry of oil. It was because I didn't have any. I literally didn't. For many years, I didn't even have. I barely had money in my bank account. Obviously, like a lot of racers in their earlier career, that I didn't have enough money to get oil, and I didn't have any. So I was like, I guess I'm gonna have to make it as far as I can home. Made it all the way.
Wow.
That's impressive.
That is super impressive.
That is unheard of. So it has oil in it now?
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely does. I take so much better care of it. So much better care of it. But it's only because I can afford to now. So
Cool.
But what do you drive? What do you guys drive?
I currently have a BRZ. And Michael?
And I've got a Volkswagen GLI. Nothing exciting.
Right on. BRZs are actually like, even if I did have infinite money though, as a daily driver, I'd probably get a BRZ and then totally budget out on putting like a Coyote engine in it.
Oh,
yeah. We just saw a BRZ at the local car show that he was talking about swapping it to something like that. And it's tempting.
Imagine all the R&D, the time and money in R&D though.
I know.
It's been done before, but like that would still be costly probably to make that much of a transfer out.
It'd be a pain in the butt, but man, if that car only had like 100 more horsepower, it'd just be perfect.
I know. That's why you get the what is it? The new Supras. Those things are awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are cool.
Those are punchy.
Those are very punchy.
They are punchy. They have enough power. I mean, what are they, around 400 and something?
Yeah,
right.
And then I mean, some simple tuning, and you're easily 450, almost 500 horsepower on those things.
That's enough on a racetrack. I have a rule of thumb. Usually, anything over like 550 is like overkill, because you look at the GT3 cars, GTE and stuff. They're not above 650. They're way less, if anything.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that front. Now, I see on your sleeve you have USAC, SRO, IMSA. You got a variety of different big racing series from around the U.S. Have you participated in all of those, or at least done some?
I have participated in this in years 2014, 15, all the way to 2018. This is an obvious one. This is more so just because coaching clientele, coached in this, raced in this, coached in this because of the Porsche Cup group. And then on this side is just the sleeve for the data programs that I work with. And it's really just for advertising, because I coach a lot. And then most people, they'll ask like, hey, what series have you raced or something? So this will at least be quick giveaways. So
that's super cool.
Whatever they ask.
That's super cool. What was your favorite series to run, or was it just like, I like this car?
I really didn't get to have too much of a run in, but has to be actually so far right now. It's actually SRO. Even though I want to race in Trans Am so bad, just because most of my career has been in IMSA, and I've learned in that series you can be as good as you can be the best driver in the series. That still won't mean that it still won't equate to success, because you still have 12 hours still left in a race, 24, and a lot can happen still just within 5 minutes. So how much greater risk with that much time? A bad pit stop, someone ends up rear-ending your teammate, and there goes the diffuser, and you guys are out of spares, stuff like that.
Okay, that's super cool. So you're more of you prefer the sprint format because it actually shows like driver skill as opposed to kind of just like randomness.
Yeah, and Trans Am's good about that because it's a spec series versus a lot of the sport car series, they'll have BOPs. So that's a whole nother factor. So originally when I was younger, and especially getting into racing, I was more into the endurance stuff. I think that's great and all, but unless you have like an all-pro driver lineup, which never in my career have I had it where it was just a straight-up pro lineup. Always my career has been where I was always anchoring the car of the drivers, and it's so. I mean, I'd still dream of the day though of coming where I can have an all-pro lineup.
Cool. So I assume you've done open wheel, you've done closed cockpit, you've done prototypes, GT cars. Is your favorite open wheel? Like, is that where you'd like to go in the future if you
Yeah,
could?
if I could, but I'm not going to say no to an opportunity. But I think that industry they like to look at younger. Yes, to answer the question, I would love that, but I don't know the likeliness of that. But if it comes up my way, I'm definitely going to run with it.
Cool, cool. Oh, that's super cool. What are you doing as far as coaching goes?
Coaching, so as in the services, or like
Yeah.
what kind of coaching, or
All of the above.
all of the above? So right now I coach people from both beginner to all the way up in Pro-Am series, such as Lamborghini Trofeo or Porsche Cup as well, depending on wherever my clients want to go. And I also have worked with some guys. I have a driver development program that they go through, and it's obviously where I spend an exclusive time with those clients, and they work with me so frequently as either 1 or 2 days to 1 or 2, at minimum 1 or 2 weekends a month, all year round. Just me training them and also racing with them to prepare them, doing data, video coaching, and also passenger seat. But some of my driver development guys that I am about to do Pro-Am series with, I met them just at a Chin Track Days event, and it was their first time ever on track. And we started out in their street car type thing, like a Porsche Cayman, Porsche GT4 car, and eventually developed them where we're looking at doing something like Lamborghini Trofeo. So my clientele base experience wise ranges so far. And I also just coach some people that are just casual, just trying to get better, because you're never done learning and you're always a student of the sport.
Definitely. Now, do you have any favorite tracks?
I do. VIR is on my top. Virginia International Raceway. Then a track that no Pro Series goes to that I wish did is actually Palmer Motorsports Park up in Massachusetts, I think. It's got 13 stories of elevation change, and it's built on a mountain. It's built on a mountainside, so it makes me think. Even though I've never been to, what's that track that they call like Mount Panorama or something like that?
Yeah, Bathurst.
Bathurst, thank you. It makes you think of Bathurst because, like, whenever I drive it on a simulator, and it also makes me think of Pikes Peak. I've never driven on, but just how you look at it, because it's like, well, out there is a cliff edge and there's a rock wall. Well, on this track, they have guardrail and tire wall and all these other safety things. But the fact that it has 13 stories of elevation change and the inside's rock wall of the track is rock wall, it's like, so I just put that together because there's no room for error. 13 stories of elevation change, almost no straightaways. So the straightaways that they have, you're almost going flat out through, just like you'll see in Bathurst. And sometimes the car will get light and you're just going through S's. And then third, well, you either have to be Watkins Glen or the new track Ozarks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Have you heard about... Go ahead.
Oh, so I was just saying, by the way, to give Ozarks a shout out, that track is a safe track to drive on. I think it's just one of those tracks, if you don't know the track, haven't driven it before, and you go out there very confident, as I usually do when I drive. If you just go out there saying like, oh, okay, I'll go there and figure it out, it's like, no, it'll very quickly rip the rug from underneath you, as any international track does, and either put you in the wall or humble you very quickly. So it recently got a bad rep as too dangerous of a track for a Pro Series to go on. I'm like, no, not really. Just go on it humbly, learning, and learn it slowly, and then it'll be a safe track that you can go fast on.
That makes sense. Have you heard of Flat Rock Motorsports Park?
I have. I heard it's coming. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I've been seeing some things coming. Every time I see it, I just think that looks like so much fun.
Yeah, I still haven't even seen the layout, so you guys might be ahead of me on that one.
The layout looks
I'm excited.
Sick. It looks awesome.
Right. Are we able to pull it up on the screen thing to look at?
I can probably find you a link and send it to you, but I don't have it at the moment. So
okay.
It's definitely out there though. From what I could tell, the layout did look really, really sweet. So,
yeah.
It's a pretty big. It's supposed to be a big track too, right?
I think
Tennessee
so.
or something.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, that'll be exciting.
East Tennessee, which is a great spot. I mean, you're near VIR as well, so I mean, you're a few hours
Much
to VIR.
needed. I think it's much needed for the industry.
That sounds like it's right up your alley as far as the East Coast of the U.S. goes. Watkins Glen, VIR. Have you done Road Atlanta, Sebring, Daytona? I'm sure you've done all those, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yep, right along the East Coast. Cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty biased to Sebring though, because this is my home track. I was just there all last weekend. It was a Chin track day I was coaching for, and then a PCA event weekend. I had several clients and one driver development guy I was working with. We're doing lead follow and Porsche Cup car and but Sebring I'm super biased to, just because it's right in our back alley.
It's funny. We're a bit spoiled here in Florida between Sebring and Daytona, and then it's just we're just spoiled.
Definitely. You know what's even funnier on that topic is for those of us who have been there and we're used to Sebring, like their trash cans at the track are like used VP racing fuel barrels flipped upside down and then wrapped. This is a very typical thing to do. And then the bathrooms are all outdoors, just bricks, a brick and then a roof on top, and no AC. I don't want to poo-poo on it as like a track that's underinvested, but the point is they haven't really done much with it in years, and that's the whole point of it. And then for us, we're just like, the facility is so underdeveloped. And then you'll have like a European person who's obviously heard of it and knows the lore of Sebring, and then comes there and they're pretty much worshiping the grounds of Sebring, and we're just looking at them like this is definitely their first time being here. We definitely take it as Floridians for granted, just having the tracks that we do, such as Daytona and Sebring.
Yeah, we're a bit spoiled.
Having a 24 and a 12-hour big endurance race, international endurance race right here is like, whoa, okay.
Racing all year round, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that too. That's super cool. So are you doing any stuff on the simulator? I know you're doing coaching every weekend, basically, but what are you doing like during the week?
So I'm actually about to get into it, and I'm too embarrassed to even show my simulator over there because it is so primitive it's in prehistoric. It's crazy. It's just a Logitech G27, and my whole career. So I have a love-hate relationship with the sim racing thing, but I'm about to go head deep into the whole sim racing world, just because when I first got into it, it was just the Logitech G27, and I just did it on a desktop monitor sitting right on top of the desktop and right in front of the pedal box right in front of me. And I just used it for testing, and it did me well my entire career. And I remember years ago, I did back in 2013 on iRacing, I did 2 races in it. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with iRacing, how it works. They have like a safety rating and such. Well, in like the first 2 races, it was like an MX5 Cup car that they made me start out and do those races. And I got so aggravated because like you could be leading a race, you could be the safest driver, you could be the smartest guy, like not making dangerous passes. And then somewhere near the end of the race, the guy who's being lapped would end up coming down on you or punting you in the brake zone. It's like, what is happening? And then so I got a lower iRating score. So a lot caused me to race with like people with even worse driving experience. And I gave up. And then recently, because sim racing world has gotten so much more developed, that now I'm like, because I'm about to start doing pro racing stuff again more frequently, instead of just coaching in the last year or two, that I'm like, all right, I gotta prepare myself like and get used to competition, like tight competition, because they're insanely good sim racers. So to simulate that, I started getting into it, and I realized like my equipment, my little laptop or desktop, and my little G27 from 2010 isn't going to do it anymore.
It's funny. I recently got a little bit head deep into iRacing as well, and I can sympathize with you. MX5 Cup, literally first race, VIR, I got punted, just completely gone, 100% gone.
And you still, it's almost like how in racing where it's like, well, it's not like that guy. It's not like an insurance company's going to come pick up the bill and he's going to pay for it. It's like, no, sorry, that really sucks. You're still going to have to pay for it with like your score and your rating and your stats. Yeah.
That's just part of iRacing. I have a Fanatec set up with like a triple monitor, and I do a lot of the endurance stuff on iRacing. But when you start racing, hit us up because we'll do some runs with you.
Yeah.
That'd be super
Sweet.
cool. Yeah.
Sweet.
Do you know if people are doing like coaching in the esports world, or if you'd be willing to do some of that?
Oh, definitely. And I would. I'm starting to consider it now. Right now, the thing is, I am literally traveling all around the country and a little bit out of the country so frequently. I am at a track coaching or racing at a minimum of 3 to a max of 7 days a week all year round. I almost never have a point where it's like I have 7 days of not being at a track. So it's just hard for me to do with my traveling schedule, but I'm really considering doing it.
Hey, to a lot of
Because
people,
a lot of people do.
to a lot of people, you're living the dream
Yeah.
over there. Weekend after weekend, just running different tracks in different cars.
I'm definitely blessed. Racing's been taken out of my life, and that's a whole long story. 2018, I had racing taken out of my life, found God in my life, and then once I did that, he literally, when I kind of wanted nothing to do with racing, I was just very bitter about the sport, and then brought it back into my life. So I'm definitely extremely fortunate.
Absolutely. Count your blessings. We all do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
So here's a weird question out of left field. Who is your absolute hero worship driver? Who is the driver that you looked up to the most as a kid, forever?
As a kid, because now I've just learned that everyone's a human. Like, everyone goes to the restroom, everyone eats like the same similar foods. So no one right now, but I can tell you, growing up, Michael Schumacher was my guy, and Kobe Bryant was my motor to like how I work. My work ethic in the sport is very much so like that. Sleeping anywhere from like 3 to 5 hours a night, because I'm always working on something to get to a higher plane in the sport than where I'm at currently. And Schumacher, just because of the sense of like domination, which it was hard to achieve in the endurance racing stuff, but in sprint racing, it's so much better. So Schumacher, just because of that factor of extreme domination, and he started with a lower team, I think Benetton, and then brought them up to a higher plane as well. So it's like, all right, can be done. And kind of choke out the competition as much as you can type style.
I love that. I was a huge Schumacher fan as a kid. I mean, he was my idol as a kid.
Yeah. What was it that you liked about him?
So as a childish reason, when I was a kid, he shared my name, so that was good, right? But from there, I honestly, I loved the Ferraris. The Ferraris were just the look of that Ferrari F1 car was, for me as a kid, just looking at that thing, and then seeing how dominant he was it just, I don't know, it was like an unquantifiable feeling of like, dang, that is a human being that is just
on edge. He can just read the edge of the car, and something unique that most people can't. I'll tell you something really cool that I learned about Schumacher recently in a book.
Yeah.
So it's something that when I found this out, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so simple. Like, why didn't I think about it? So apparently at some point earlier when he first joined Ferrari, he would gain time, like we're talking about like a tenth or two in each brake zone at every track he went to, because of his braking technique. Versus, I think it was Eddie Irvine. Was that who his teammate was when he first went to Ferrari? I think, if I remember.
When he first went to Ferrari, it sounds familiar. I can't remember who his first teammate was.
Okay, so what they found on data was he was still, and I apply it now, he was still on full throttle until his brake point, as you should, binary. But because left foot braking, he wouldn't let off the gas pedal fully until, like, you ever look at a data graph and you'll see, like, say if brake pressure is over here and then time is over here. Until he reached the max spike brake pressure, he was still full throttle in. And then once he reached the max brake pressure, then he would let off the throttle.
Wow.
And it would, so it's stuff like that because of the time wasted from trying to, switch from full gas to building brake pressure. He just eliminated that just by doing that with full throttle, build the brake pressure, and then off, which unfortunately you can't really do on iRacing because it makes it where it's binary, or it's like a scale where if you're full throttle, if you add brake, it lifts the gas. You can't really do that. But I found it out, and then I applied it in my racing, and it actually did help. And I was like, sweet.
That's an interesting technique. I wouldn't have ever thought about that.
Yeah, I also learned another thing from him for cars with brake bias. Well, most race cars with brake bias, but zero driving aid. You could, to some degree, simulate traction control ever so lightly. Just applying brake bias more to the rear, and say if you have a high horsepower car, let's take a Trans Am car, and then you just ever so lightly drag the brake exiting a turn, because you have the bias more so in the rear. At that point, you just drag it lightly out of the hole and you go gas pedal heavy. You've now, in some way, shape, or form, simulated a form of traction control.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that would keep the engine spooled up, but keep the traction as far as the horsepower down on the rear wheels. That's smart.
Both things I learned from books that were like autobiographies from Michael Schumacher. I'm like, that's dope. I'm definitely stealing that.
That's sick. Any Trans Am guys are going to steal that.
There you go. There's more where it came from. Hire me.
There you go. Ethan Lowe for coaching. Cool.
Yeah.
Ethan,
just on that note, just go to my website though for anyone that is interested in hiring me. If they're wanting to see my resume, just go to my website at ethanlowracing.com. From there, they can see my live schedule, book me, and also learn about me a little bit more.
We'll have the link in the description down below too.
So there you go.
Yeah. I believe you also have some social media stuff too, don't you?
Yes. YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. It's just Ethan Lowe Racing.
Awesome. Sweet. Last question for you here. If you had unlimited money, let's say we'll do two. If you had unlimited money, what car would you buy? A normal daily car that you drive around town, and then what race car would you buy?
Unlimited money.
Unlimited money. Blank check. You can buy any car you want, but one daily and then one race car for the weekend.
If it were racing, I'd probably stick, unlimited budget, and if I could just stay in F1 for forever, then F1. If not, then probably IndyCar. But if I could get any street car, it'd just be an older Subaru BRZ or the other version of it, the Scion FRS, and then just, like I said, stick a Coyote or a Coyote engine in it. That way I can hear that tinny sound.
Wow, you're a proper racing enthusiast if you want to go BRZ with unlimited money. Most people would Bugatti, LaFerrari, right? They're way out there. But you're just nah, give me a good platform and I'll throw a crazy engine in it and have fun around the racetrack.
Yeah, I would do that. Because then you get a bigger car, it just comes with more cost. And some of these cars, they have special rebuild processes versus just just you see that AutoZone or whatever over there? Go there and just get the part, come back, let's fix this, and go about your life.
Sweet.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
So you're going to put a Coyote in yours?
Oh, man. I want to, but like you said, it's I need to daily it, though. I have to daily it, so I don't know.
It's dailyable.
With a Coyote in it and a bunch of mods to it, I don't know.
Do it. Just have they're manual, so just put it in low gear if you want to keep it quiet, not piss off the neighbors. And then, yeah, man, you should do it. You should do it. Fun. It's not like we're asking you to buy a Ferrari. Just do it.
Come on. Honestly, Derek, he's got a point. He does
have a point. He does have a point.
So next week, you're going to have a Coyote in your BRZ, right?
Yeah, sure.
Nice. Let's go. So, you got anything else for him, Derek?
I do not. Ethan, you got anything else for us?
I do not. I do not. I'm open to if any companies want to talk business and see how they can get involved in the sport, and also to see how we could benefit your business. We can get in contact. Hopefully, these guys will do that. And then, like I said, if anyone's interested in coaching, reach out to me on my website, and we'll go from there. That's the only thing I really have.
Perfect.
Well, thanks for coming on, and we'll catch you at the track.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me on board. So, fan of the show, and really appreciate you guys.